Hello and welcome to the Loose Butthole Reviews. I'm your host Smokey, and joining with me as always is my co-host Booge.
Hello.
And joining with us again is our co-hosts Murda and Starfish.
Konnichiwa, part 2.
Hi,
And
part
I
two.
know it's the same movie, but I'm still going to give our 3 rules of our rating system. First rule is it must be a fraction of 5. 1 being we hate it, 5 being we love it. Rule number 2, if we want our money back, we give it a good old Jeff Goldblum. And rule number 3, if we all agree that's doing the review that it deserves a 6 out of 5, a God tier, then it will get a God tier. And today we are back with Big Man Japan. This is part 2 of our review.
Yes, we had so much to talk about when we had to split it up. We are now in the latter half of the movie and so much happens.
Yeah, there's a few corrections we have to a couple of corrections we got to make. Well, just one really. The transformation scene that we were going over before we cut to the eyeball monster doesn't happen before the eyeball monster. It happens before the leaping monster. What happens before the eyeball monster is my favorite scene of the whole movie, and that's Grandpa vibing. That's where we can pick back up.
I'm sure that we will be forgiven.
Yeah,
How dare
hopefully
you.
so. Thank you for
Never.
forgiving us, fans, and thank you, Smokey, for providing those corrections. So we'll hop back in here, and Daisato has gone to the nursing home, and just kind of checking in on his grandpa, which is the fourth. As we've learned in the film so far, he used to also be Big Man Japan during World War II, and they proceed to get outside, and they sit in this like nice little scenic park, and share some food together. Um, he Daisato leaves, and this is where we get a dementia episode from his grandpa. And we see
Everybody will say the tabloids and everything's gonna say dementia. I think the old man's just vibing. He's just chilling. I mean, what does he
well,
do? What does he do?
Even if it's
He
dementia, I mean, he looks like he's having a great time.
he
Oh,
like
yeah,
he poses at it. We don't see him destroy the tower. He poses at a tower.
yep,
The most destruction he does, he picks up a plane. He does pick up a
Yeah.
plane and like uses it as a fan and goes like in an inside fan.
Probably safe to ground that plane. Probably don't want to fly that anymore.
yeah. Well, they had to ground the whole airport, and they're like people were mad because like everyone like missed all their flights like trying to fly out of that airport.
And he was even gonna slam into like I don't know what those are. What the big? I think those are like store oil maybe. Like one of those big round container things that are like at factories that store shit. He was gonna smash into
Yeah.
one of those, but does he? No.
No, he just blows into it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
To
that's
make the bottle noise.
the blow stack. Yeah, this is a completely different. Yeah, the blow stack. He just blows into the blow stack like a bottle.
The blow stack.
Maybe he thought there was a present in there. Anyone
Yeah.
play Katamari Damacy?
Nice.
And we
I
end
do get
off.
flashes of some of the humor of Katamari in this, especially with
Yeah.
the souls.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the Souls is very Katamari Damacy.
We get a little Dark Souls at the end. He praises the motherfucking sun at the end of it.
But
Yeah, well, I mean that's probably a leftover from World War II, but yeah.
I still fucking
He
vibing, man. I'm vibing with this old man. I will
um,
salute the sun all day long. Why not?
Yeah, he seemed like he was having a great time.
yeah, he does. I'm sure he's friends with Solaire, you know. But anyways, so he does this, and we have our meeting with the agent. Um, and so they go to the like it seems to be, and this is another thing that the film does really well. and somewhat subtly, is every time he meets with the agent, they are at the same exact restaurant. So I think it's kind of more like proving that, he may be like a creature of habit type of personality. Doesn't really want to like stray from any, like, go to a new place with her or anything like that. But so we have this meeting, um, and she basically says, like, this is really not good for the advertisers. To which he's like, why does that even matter? Like, first off, like, I don't really want to do advertising. I just do it because you said that I should do it. And the other thing is, this was the fourth. I can't control the fourth. If he goes and does that, like, he's gonna go and do that. Like, there's not really anything I can do about it.
He was trying to save his hips. They were trying to fucking take his hips, man. I'm with him, man.
Mhm.
You gotta stay firm.
Yes.
Don't let them take
Yes.
the hips.
So she basically says that, well, we have to get more advertisement on you, and tells him like where the new advertisement's going to go and stuff, and he gets, kind of out of the blue, like, very adamant that they cannot use his hips, because she did not recommend using his hips or anything like that. He's just like, those are my best features. I'm not going to let you use my hips.
I
So
was assuming that there's been a conversation before about them wanting his hips.
Yeah, I think
'Cause-
she said that they want his hips.
Because
And
them
she's
Bit
like-
better
and-
because he
and he
doesn't
was
block
like-
it as much.
He's
There-
like, that's the one place that you cannot have. Like, you're my agent. You need to. What kind of agent are you if you can't even tell them that I won't use my hips?
Yeah.
like he's got
And
some
I think
big
that's
hips.
that's just like
They're
him
big hips.
trying to hang on to any semblance of agency over his body.
absolutely,
Mhm.
because he has zero control over
Again,
what
with the
happens to his
the
body.
way he dresses and the way he has his hair and his his mid-movie awful haircut. It's just
Yeah.
like the only freedom that this man has.
I'm assuming because this is around the same time. This is a few years after the Super Sentai of Dino Thunder, but they were joking about that hairstyle a lot. I'm going to assume around this time period that hairstyle became super popular for some reason. And this is an insight. This is like a cultural joke we're just not getting.
It may be, but like, man,
'Cause-
that hairstyle, it wasn't even done well. Like, it's all like janky and like uneven.
The Super
Yeah.
Sentai series that I'm talking about legitly has a villain running around throwing mushrooms and giving people the same exact hairstyle, just in different
Like, is
color
it-
variations.
I
and
wonder if
stuff.
it's like the Japanese version of the trend of that type of style in like the late 90s, early 2000s of like
I
all those
mean,
like blonde hair
Matsu-
like that.
In interviews, Matsumoto has basically said like this movie like is for Japanese people, and I'm surprised that anyone outside of Japan likes it because it's so specific.
Weeaboos.
I mean,
Yeah, it's true.
true.
Because when
true,
it was they showed it at the Cannes Film Festival, and like people really liked it, and he was like he was happy, but he was just like surprised. Like, I thought only people in Japan would even get it. And I mean, of course, we don't get everything that's going on. There's like a lot of jokes that go over our head because we don't live in that society. But
Yeah, but still, classic Matsumoto W.
Mhm.
But yeah, so they discuss the advertisements and stuff. The next advertisement's going to be going on his chest, I believe, right?
no, I think it's
no,
the
it's-
tramp stamp.
It is the
Oh
tramp
yeah,
stamp.
okay, it's the tramp stamp this time. And so like this is also like one of the great things that the film does as well, is like every time we see him in his big man form, he's got like a different advertisement on a different part of his body, like on his torso.
I'm
So
glad.
he's
I'm
got-
glad he won that fight and he got to keep his hips.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Yeah, he did.
And so we now get attacked by the eyeball monster.
Evil
and then-
stare monster.
The evil stare monster.
All right, the evil stare monster.
That is what
Um,
they refer to it as in the movie.
Okay.
Can I describe it? It's a
Yeah, go
it's
for
a
it.
Sure.
it's a funky defeathered chicken with a one-eyed snake.
It's like a really long neck with a
Coming out of the
giant
belly button.
eyeball at the end.
I
Yeah, coming out of the belly button. It looks
maybe
like
the
it's
belly
coming out
button.
of. It is coming out of the belly button, but it's definitely made to look like a giant penis. Of course,
It's
of
Yeah,
course
low.
it is.
yeah.
And
It's
it is
absolutely.
very the monster's body is very scrotal.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is quite the scrotal sack. And the other cool thing about it is that if the eye is ever in darkness and it only has one eye at the end of the snake, it will instantly fall asleep. So like that's its weakness. But it attacks, and Daisato comes out and is ready to fight it. It flings the eye at him. He makes it like bounce off and stuff. Um, and then he flings the eye at him again. He ends up hitting it, and then it goes.
But during,
It
in between the monster flinging his eyeball at Sato, the monster has to take like a good minute to retract his eyeball because it's so long.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty great. It's very humorous because it's just like this, headless being like hunched over, like pulling in this like this penis snake type thing like back to its body. It's great. He flings it, bounces off, and this time it gets like real dusty and dirty. And so the eye monster has to clean its only eye because it's like very like obviously irritated. And they are next to a man-made river or like an arroyo or whatever, and so he
And
dunks his eyeball in there.
and this is where I know I'm not a fair fighter because I know when he's dunking his eye in the river, I would have been like bashing him from behind.
Kaiju. This is
The
kaiju
classic eye
etiquette.
dunk bash.
No disrupting the transformation sequences and no disrupting the
Well,
recoveries.
I don't know if what he does to
Kaiju
kill this
honor.
monster is kaiju honor.
No, no, I don't think it's
It
kaiju
is,
honor at
and
all.
I'm gonna have to do a little here. It was a violation. What he
Oh
did.
yes, absolutely.
Hey, you want to go ahead and wrap up the fight scene there, Smokey?
Violation.
I'm saying that you're making me talk shop. You're
No?
gonna make me talk shop. Keep going.
Okay, all right. So, anyways, he pulls it back out, and then he flings the eye again. I believe that it misses, or like he dodges it, and it like goes to somewhere where it's dark, and falls over and falls asleep. And then once he's all asleep and stuff, um, um, uh, Daisato walks up to it, like takes a swing at it, doesn't really move or anything, and then he takes his like stick that he normally has, and from what we can see, it looks like he just
He
anally
sodomizes it
he anally penetrates the monster with his stick,
to death.
and that kills it. Yeah, so
Okay, I'm gonna have to insert it here. God dang it.
Violation. 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 Violation.
it's hilarious too because like so far up to this point, he's kind of contributed to the deaths and stuff. Like we've argued, that it could be a kaiju slaughter or like second degree, like maybe not like
this
intentionally
is a correction.
killed.
This is a correction that I got. I was trying to say negligent homicide. I was saying accidental homicide. I was trying to say it was negligent homicide. Little correction
Yeah,
on my part.
this is first degree murder right here.
Yeah, this is murder.
This is first degree murder from anal penetration. Like
So, Smokey, are we to believe that? Would you rather, while you're washing your eyeball in the river, be bashed from behind, or would you rather be
Fall
Unfortunately,
asleep. Fall
sodomized to death?
unfortunately, this is not breaking kaiju etiquette. There's nothing against the rules about shoving instruments anywhere.
But
to-
he's
to
already
end the match.
asleep.
He was asleep. He was
But he's
asleep.
already asleep, so
But
he
You
the-
couldn't
just said
defend
you gotta
himself.
wait for all the things. Isn't
You-
sleeping a thing?
No,
After they're
sleeping-
asleep, then they're
have
down.
You have to sleep. You
And
have
it's
to
time to
wait for the
explode.
recoveries. Sleeping is not a recovery. Sleeping is a state of being that is not him getting up. If he was waking up, he'd have to wait for him to wake up, but he was already asleep. And you have to wait for the transformations, and he was not transforming in any way whatsoever. That's the only two things you can't and
You were talking
mean-
so fast to defend this point, and you are wrong.
For all we know, maybe the beehole
Damn.
is the only weak point.
This is I'm just
It
saying,
might
this
be.
is not
For all
breaking
we
kaiju etiquette. This is not breaking kaiju etiquette. He's not disrupting
This is-
any
Disagree.
recoveries.
This is his
How is he
Achilles
recovering?
heel.
How is he transforming?
I mean, you sleep to recover. Like that should answer your question, right?
No,
I guess
that's-
the more kosher kaiju
When
thing
I-
would have been to do would be to collapse the buildings.
I guess I
onto 'em.
have to be more specific on when.
Then he could come back later.
A combactal recovery, like you standing up, you can't push them back over. Like no, you're not.
Or
You're not
like
gonna do that.
I would say like maybe chop off his head.
Yeah.
His
Or shoot a
I mean,
laser.
He there's a number of I'm not saying what he did was the right move to end the fight. I'm just have to point out it's not against kaiju fighting etiquette. It's
I guess it
not.
won't get him disqualified, but he's not winning any points.
It's a low blow. It's a low
Yeah.
blow, man.
It's
Yeah,
definitely dirty.
quite literally a low blow, and also
Unless
quite
the
literally
only-
dirty.
The only way that this is acceptable is that the butthole is the only vulnerable point of this monster.
Yeah.
Or
But-
wherever he stabbed the gooch.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. So that's the thing is from the angles that's provided, we don't necessarily see it, but it's really hard for it to have gone anywhere else based off of the.
But I
monster's
assume
anatomy.
because we've seen other monster with like, cloacas or buttholes.
Yeah, we'll see them very
I'm gonna
shortly.
point
Because
this
well,
out.
even the strangle monster had a cloaca.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. That's true. It did.
I want to point this out. The monster did sound like he was climaxing. He didn't sound like it was a painful experience for him.
Well, maybe
did-
maybe
Okay.
It's true. Do I have to play the sound?
No,
Yes.
well,
yes, you do.
You should. You should play it. Let's pause for that.
No, well, we can insert the sound here, and y'all can decide.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
so-
a nicer death to be orgasm to death than,
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, that is a dream to orgasm and then die. Like
Also, in the
it's-
spirit of just being argumentative, he wouldn't have a cloaca. He would have an aviduct.
Oh, the strangle
Yes.
monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, the strangle monster.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
excuse me.
I wanted to. People were saying that it poops spears. There is a reason why people would mistaken it for pooping spears. It makes the cloaca. I'm calling the strangle monster a fucking cloaca now. God damn it! The strangle monster. He does like a little a shake. He shakes it twice like like it's its penis. He does a little tap, and it makes metal
Yeah, but
clanging
there's-
noises.
No.
There's definitely eggs
He-
sliding out. Though.
No, it's
Yeah,
an
it's definitely
ovipositor.
it is an omnipositor, but when it does a little tap to get the rest of the eggs off of it, it only shakes it twice. It's not playing with itself. It only shakes it twice. It makes little clanging. It looks metal. It makes
He's
metal
got a-
clanging noises.
got a
It makes
splorch.
a metallic
A
sound.
splorch. Yeah. But yeah, so the eyeball monster is defeated, and Daisato is standing up,
His soul
not
ascends to
triumphant.
heaven.
Yeah, the light comes down again, as is the recurring theme. Once the bad kaiju monster is defeated, the light comes down, its soul ascends to heaven, and then a large red kaiju comes booking it off of the screen, and punches Daisato right in the back of
not
the
just
dome.
He
punches,
slams
sucker
him
punches.
from behind. Yeah. So
Yeah,
he was not observing kaiju etiquette.
No, this
he
is
was-
not
no, he
observing
was not.
kaiju etiquette whatsoever. Daisato was totally recovering from the last fight. He was watching.
Yeah, and he got hit
the-
from behind.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
And he almost stumbles over, turns around and like faces it. We get a clear shot of it, and it's kind of like a red demon-ish, kind of like traditional Western, like little devil kind of looking
It-
kaiju.
It kind of looked like Hellboy as a baby for a minute, to be honest.
In
It's
a
got that
way, I
look.
could see that. But it's
like
very
Hellboy
red.
as a
It's
baby
got
with a Joker smile.
It's got a weird
Yeah.
butt.
yeah, it does have a weird butt.
I wouldn't say it hasn't. I would say it's got the Hank Hill problem. It unfortunately doesn't
I think
have
it's a
one.
little more prominent than Hank Hill's, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not concave at least.
It's at least
Like
it's more
Hank's is.
it's a lot more muscly than Hank Hill's.
At
asses.
least, yeah, he works out at least.
This monster looks like he is all muscle.
Dang it! I need my inserts. But yeah, so he tries to like face it and is deftly and quickly defeated, and falls over. To which this monster takes the opportunity to curb stomp his face with the back of his heel, just constantly that downward angle, just like over and over again in his face, like really consistently. Eventually, he's trying. At first, he's trying to struggle. Then he just kind of stops and like takes the abuse for like a little bit, like maybe 2 or 3 hits.
He is just getting his face fucking stomped.
Yeah, it's rough.
It's
And
actually like it was a little disturbing.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's intentional too. Of like showing how much stronger this one is than him, and how much more willing to perform violence than he is.
Yeah, he
Um,
is just getting his face stomped. There's like blood coming
Every
out, which we don't really see a lot of blood in this movie, but like
No.
Every time
we
he's
do
trying
when
to
he's getting
stand up,
stomped.
he gets fucking. This kaiju is completely breaking. I mean, somebody needs to step in. Somebody needs to get the fuck in this shit. This is, where's the ref? Where's the ref?
But I mean, he does stand up, and
he does eventually get up.
instead of trying to fight back, he runs. He just
Yep.
flees.
Yeah, he does.
He kind of
And-
boasting.
I mean, it's kind. Good shot of the sponsor though. That's a positive.
Yeah, it is. He's a good shot
Yeah.
of the sponsor.
You see that tram stamp real well while he's running away.
Yeah, yeah. You
And I
do.
just want to state that that's past the scene we're about to get on, the scene after the scene. I'm jumping a little tiny bit ahead. That they see that as a positive because there's a little scene where he's like crying with his nose broken and stuff. If you want to go on with
Yeah.
that scene.
Okay, yeah, so afterwards, we go to Daisato's house, and we have the camera crew talking to him in his regular form. And they're basically asking him, like, did you know what that was or where it came from? Like, are you okay? Like,
Got
is your
good
nose
ratings?
broken? Because he's got like a really hardcore broken nose. And then he's like, no, my nose didn't break, but like it hurt. Like, I don't want to have to fight him again. And the camera guy's like, but you got such good ratings. Like, if you fight him again, you'll get even better ratings this time because people want to see the fight. And Daisato is very much like, no, I'm not about it. And then we get a scene where we see the agent slash anti-agent being asked questions in her car. Um, she has two very large dogs with her. Um, one is named Delicacy, um, and one is
did-
named something else, but I don't remember its name.
Now I know this is wrong. This is wrong, but I gotta point this out. There's a section of people that's gonna bust out laughing when she points out the dog's name is Delicacy.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, that's why I remembered its name. And that is very intentional by the filmmaker to have her name one of the dog's Delicacy.
Like that.
which is it's strange because I mean it's not a Japanese type of stereotype. That's just something that's more of a Chinese stereotype.
Yeah, and you were totally right on that, Spooge. But
I
I
would
think
be
some
more
people
specific
just
and say
like
Cambodian,
see Asian and they're like, oh,
Not just Cambodian. There's actually a huge dog eating festival that's in China. There's a Filthy Frank song that tells you how to get there.
I
Nice.
can't really get into much of it. I just know that is also one that gets thrown around as well when it comes to this.
Mhm.
Is it right to call it a faux pas? Am I misspeaking there?
Faux pas.
yeah. So this is an intentional faux pas. Yeah,
Okay,
because
so I'm not
it's
misspeaking,
essentially
thank
no, you're not. So it's essentially, and this is like something I will get into prior to final thoughts. Because this film does this a lot with a lot of different things. This one's one of the more glaring ones, but it's essentially taking like a stereotype or like a standard thing and like flipping it on its head. And I think that's why it's so successful.
These are also very fancy, expensive dogs. These are Afghan hounds.
Yeah, they are. And we should also mention too, the majority of people in Japan are much more environmentally conscious than the people in the States, and she is in a big, bright red, brand new SUV. And so
Very westernized.
yes, totally.
Yeah, it looks like a
and-
Jeep.
Yeah, it does look like a Jeep.
I mean,
and
just
so
the clothes she wears. It reminds me of more of a valley girl than it does a traditional, Japanese. Usually it's more uniformic kind of dress, just for normal people. But
Yeah, she's wearing
more,
she's like wearing
flashy hats and
expensive
stuff.
track suits.
Yeah, she is. And so the camera crew asks her, is like, "Oh, is this, we got really good shots at the advertisement. Like, were you like happy about the last fight?" And she was like, "Yeah, of course. Like, that went extremely well. Like, we got so many viewers, and like is very stoked about it." And then the cameraman goes, "Oh, you have such a nice big car," and she's like, "Yeah, well, I made good money off of this last one." And it's like, "Oh, you have two like nice huge dogs. I bet they eat a lot. Like they probably require a lot of care and maintenance and stuff." She's like, "Yeah, but they're just my dogs. Like they're sweethearts and stuff." And then the cameraman asks her how much she makes. And here's where we see like the true discrepancy between.
I think there's a. I don't think they ask. They ask how much she paid for the car. I believe, and it was like 50,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
there was a little
regardless.
discrepancy for me.
Yeah, no worries. Regardless, so they ask her, how much you pay for the car. It's 50K. And Daisato is driving a like late 90s model Honda
Is Daisato
scooter.
driving anything? Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, he has a scooter.
Scooter, not car.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
And he already told us
there's-
he pulls in $5,000 a month, so 60,000 a year.
Yeah.
I wanted to point this out. Who's to say that's not like a choice though that he drives the moped?
I don't think he has a choice if he gets paid so little.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily saying that, but what I am saying is that like, so she
I mean,
bought
you
a
got
car that is
options. He
so
definitely has
hold on,
options.
hold on. So she bought a car that is almost 1 year of his salary. like on a like not on necessarily on a whim, but like she did that
Yeah, I'm
because the
not saying
fight.
get
Like it's
something like
implied that
she's
she
got.
bought a brand new car.
I'm not stating that he needs to be driving like he can go get something that she's got. I'm saying he can get something that like if there's used cars and stuff like there's other options if
Yeah,
he
he can
really
afford. I'm sure he can afford some car, but I don't.
like if he
I
really
think he
want
just
like he
likes a more
chose.
simple,
Yeah.
life.
So
Yeah,
I'm just
absolutely.
trying to point out that the moped is not really forced upon him. It's more of a choice. It's something that he
There's
can
nicer
choose and
mopeds.
control.
Sh-
So that's
Sure, and
why I would.
what I'm pointing out is that his method of transportation is old, whereas she just bought a brand new vehicle, like as like highlighting her wealth gap between him and her, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
like if
I think we all get that.
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree.
okay,
I
okay,
agree.
Yeah. I
okay,
mean,
all right. Okay, cool. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand. But anyways, so we find this out about her, and then they quickly have another meeting in the same exact restaurant where they have all their meetings, and he is not happy with the way that she has been manipulating the press, so to speak, by telling the truth. Because she's essentially telling like all advertisers and everyone that he ran away when like he clearly ran away, like, but he's like still upset about it, um which is pretty ridiculous. Um and by the way, we should also mention too that she brought her dogs like into the restaurant, and they are, they're Afghan hounds. These are huge dogs that are just like in this restaurant and stuff, and it's just kind of ridiculous.
I
um
mean, they have. I'm. This is not like going against like their health thing or nothing, but they have like cat cafes and stuff like that. So I'm not surprised that they'll let that there's establishments that will allow animals into their.
Yeah, I don't know what their like cultural norms are for dogs in restaurants. But I know like in Germany you can bring your dog everywhere, like grocery store, restaurant. It doesn't matter as long as they're
oh, that's so cool.
behaved.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
I
it
don't
could
know
just
what
be like.
Japan's
I
take
want to
on that
bring my
is.
little dog everywhere.
I mean, they didn't do a scene. They didn't have someone like come up and go, "Oh, you shouldn't have your dogs here" or anything. Like no one was looking at them negatively or anything like that. They didn't do anything like
No,
that.
no, no,
So
no. I guess like I just wanted to point it out because like no one else has their dogs with them or anything. So like it kind of, I don't know. It just seems like it's kind of one of those things, right? Where like if she was like if it wasn't okay or whatever, like a lot of times uh like laws that like you only get a fine for are really just like you know for the poor essentially. Like I
so
don't know. That's just where
that
my mind thought went, right? Where
that I
because it's
mean,
like
you can't. Yeah, I get
she
it.
can deal with like a fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just also stating that it could be culturally acceptable over there to do that.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And more than likely it probably is. Because it's not like they're running amok or anything. They kind of just chill. Um, but yeah,
I wouldn't mind having the dogs.
so now we're gonna get into like a little bit of a quick burst of monsters, because these monsters happen pretty quickly back to
Oh,
back.
and before we hit the next monster scene, this is where he was asking, how's the investigation on this red monster going? And they say, well, we don't know much except for it's from a different country. And then
Yeah.
we cut to what we had talked about before.
Yes. So we cut to a lady who's in very traditional Asian garb, with very traditional Asian hairstyle, and she says, "Oh, big." Like I'm paraphrasing, but she says, "Big man Japan has been punished for displeasing the gods," and that's because Big Man Japan like upset our general. So like essentially implying that their general has control over the gods' whims.
Yes, we are implying here that this monster is from North Korea.
Yeah, pretty like fairly heavy-handedly. So much so that when I first saw that scene, I thought they just straight said like North Korean broadcast or like something of that nature. But upon further study, no, they didn't say anything like that.
And before we get into the montage of monsters, there is a
We're gonna talk about the daughter.
yes, the
Yeah,
family,
yeah, it,
the
yeah.
family. Don't skip that.
And no, I'm not
But
gonna skip that because it's crucial to
I said
the.
don't skip it.
Yeah, I'm not going to. I'm not going to. Um, so after this meeting, we now are going to meet his separated wife, because they're not quite exes yet, and his daughter. And so he
Though,
takes a train.
if now it could be different over there, but she's already started like a whole different thing
Yeah,
by now.
yeah. Yep. She sure has. So he takes a train over
I
to
is that
a rest.
legal? I wanted to get into that. Like, is would that be legal over there to do before the divorce? Because I know over here, certain people during the separation, like you can't for some reason see anybody. Like that's like a court order
Depends on
mandate.
who's really the main earner, who's bringing in the most money is going to have the most control on it, I think.
For Yeah, I mean, I
And I
don't know.
don't think it's him.
I was just curious. Like, would it like is that a thing over there, or is it just something that happens over here? I was just
Well,
curious.
from like my, yeah, I got you. So like from my uh like understanding of Japanese culture, because I am somewhat of a weeaboo, like just the fact that they're divorced at all is kind of like not great. Um, like it's more frowned upon there than it is here, like in the States and stuff. Um, there is like people can just like live separately but just like maintain their legal marriage status. Um, but I would willing to bet if you're, because of Japan's like nature towards women, I would be willing to bet that like if you are a lady and you're separated from your husband, but the divorce hasn't gone through, the fact that like if you go and see somebody else or something like that is probably not going to like bode well, especially if there's a lot of evidence of it like in the courts. That would be my guess. But I don't, like, without like doing a deep dive into like Japanese like domestic laws, like I don't know exactly.
But I
Um,
know if she's a part of like a little bit more of a more rich family or something, then they're going to have more control over it. Because especially if he's has no, if, he's a little bit more impoverished. I don't think he really has any power, even
yeah,
just with his personality too. I mean, like even maybe he could do some more things if he actually tried, but maybe he's just kind of too broken too.
yeah, exactly. And I would
I
actually, I would,
I gotta say, I feel none of this is related to the question that I was asking, so we can move on because I wanted to know if it was legal for people to be dating while you're
yeah,
going through
sure.
the separation part over there, or if like she's breaking the law.
Yeah, I don't know without doing a deep dive. However, I will say that there is a specific word in Japanese called sotsukan, which is um, the essentially what it means is graduation from marriage. Um, and so the way that it works, it's for couples who uh, decide to stay legally married, but they live completely independent lives from each other. Um,
So
what's
you
it called? And it,
can
it's essentially because like their
it's
society
legal
puts
over there
such
then. Is
sort of. So, do you want me to tell you?
So, upon just a cursory glance, I don't know about separation, but I know affairs are illegal. Um, if you're married and you have an affair, then both the unfaithful spouse and the cheating party may have to pay damages to the non-cheating spouse.
But he'd have to like push for it.
You'd have to push for it, yeah.
Yeah, he's not gonna do that.
The police aren't just
I
gonna
mean,
like
if
find
they're-
you for
if
you
they're
know
No,
going
you-
through
you
the
for cheating.
separation, then you might be able to date. You probably could date whoever you want.
So he could
It seems
probably
like it.
sue them, but he just doesn't. I don't think he's too broken to care.
That
He just
and
wants to see his
enough.
daughter.
he might also not want to put the little one through that kind of stress because that would cause
Yeah.
the mom to freak the fuck out, and then you gotta see mom freak the fuck out about dad suing her because I'm dating somebody. That's a can of worms you really don't
Also,
want.
suing somebody requires both money and energy.
Yep, it does.
Yeah.
Neither of which Daisato has. So before we even know that she has her own life and all of that kind of stuff, because that is probably the most important part of that scene, we go
it's-
to the big
Before
boy.
we see that scene, it's evidently clear. I mean, even the daughter has checked out of the situation. I mean, they're just doing the motion.
Yeah, but
because
we don't know that there's
is
another
probably
man
more-
involved until like way at the end of the scene.
You don't. I didn't need to know that there was a man involved to know that there was a man involved. Is what I'm saying. Is like there's obviously something going on. Like they've moved on, and that there's a reason why. that
Okay.
I
Um,
don't want to
alright.
get too personal, but this is just getting that this is an experience that I have a bit more familiarity with than most people.
I'm sorry to hear that, Smokey. But yeah, so we meet the mom and the daughter. They don't really want to be filmed, but
And
she kind of makes it
they
okay.
meet at the American restaurant Big Boy.
Yeah, they do.
Reminded me
And
of
we see-
Austin Powers.
We also yeah, and we also see on the train before he gets there he has a gift for his daughter, and it is a rabbit hat that says USA-chan.
Yeah.
he tried.
because
That's the most.
yeah, because we actually
he
we actually
tried.
find out. Yeah, because we find out that like he's been saying this whole time that he sees her once a month and stuff, and he's asked like, oh, you got her a gift? Yeah, well, because she likes rabbits and stuff, and so they end up meeting at the big boy. Mom's not happy with child being
Can I get on the
filmed.
gift real quick? I think he paid more for the bag than he did the hat because that was a fancy ass bag that he had. Did any of y'all notice that?
Just looked like a bag to me.
It looked like it was made of a material that you don't really get with normal bags to me. It didn't look paper, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean it wasn't a brown paper sack or anything. I'm sure he paid for it to be gift wrapped for her.
A weed baggie.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit higher caliber than that.
It's hard.
But I
It's
guess
not
I just
child-proofed.
It looked like it was made of ribbon. To be honest, like it was just like straight ribbon, that kind of.
it had like a silky look to it. But I guess I brought up the USA hat just of like
Someone's got some background noise.
Is it me? Did it stop?
It's like yeah, it's
Oh,
stuff.
Stop now.
did it stop? Okay. I guess I just brought up the USA thing because there's so many comments on the US in this movie, and like what were they commenting like his family has been a bit more westernized than he is while he's holding on to like Japanese tradition.
Yeah, totally. And I mean
That's just
that's
something
a
that's I
yeah,
thought I
totally.
had.
Yeah, totally. And I mean that's like a recurring thing throughout the film, is that like he is clearly seeing like more and more of the westernization, like even within his own family. And I think that really highlights like, the differences and the trials and tribulations that he has to face as someone who is, literally called what's it called? Dai Nihonjin, which is like big Japanese man. So like, it's very very clear that like, his daughter doesn't really want to do much with him. So they don't want to get filmed, end up going to, and mom ends up being okay with it as long as her daughter can remain anonymous, so like blurred out face and voice changer. And he's really not okay with that because she's like, or Daisato is like, why should she worry about this? Why should she care? Like she should
I'm
be
sorry,
proud.
but I was dealing with it. Hold on, I was dealing with a coughing
Okay,
fit.
I'll
I
hold
was
on.
dealing with a coughing fit. I wanted to point out all the USA stuff is a heavy foreshadowing.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Every time I want to say a sentence.
Shit.
Okay.
That's all you had to say.
Yeah. Daughter doesn't really care if daddy's around, because the cameraman directly asks her, like, well, do you like having a father? Do you like having a daddy? And she's like, I don't know, I don't care, pretty much to all of the questions regarding Daisato. And then we get the like intimate and like really really well shot interview with the mom, where we find out there's another man, and we find out that, he actually only gets to see her like maybe twice a year, because that's all she can stand to be around him, like from the mom's perspective. um, and we find out that she's completely moved on. Even though they're not technically divorced, she does feel like they've been divorced for a while now. um, and then immediately following that, we get the stink monster.
Stink monsters. There's two of them.
Yeah, there is two of them. So
The female variant and the male variant is running around.
I think the
Causing trouble.
female stink monster might be my favorite monster.
absolutely, she's great. And so
The attitude.
yeah, well, actually, it's interesting, because I don't think that she like really has all that much attitude. I think it's more just that like she is giving whatever energy is given to her, because like he like, so we see her causing a traffic jam like downtown, and she's leaning up against a building. We find out that the stink monsters like smell like 100 times, like, isn't it 100x of like human feces, or like
Yes.
something like that. And so we see her just kind of leaning up against the building. We don't like realize it's a female yet. Maybe kind of.
I
She does
realized
have
I mean,
like
it was
she-
female.
Yeah, I mean, she's got the red lips. She's got nice eyes, and like,
The
yeah,
shape of her
she
body.
is played by a man. But he addresses her as a female.
Okay.
The shape of the body. You can't ignore the shape of the body, Merida. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
there's breasts.
That's a lady.
There are breasts under that flap.
Yes, but
Whoa,
the
whoa,
flaps
she's
are obviously
later.
supposed to look like something.
Q
there's
Mungdal,
flaps,
hello,
and then
lady.
there are drooping udder-like breasts.
It is.
Utter like. But anyways,
It's a
so,
very unique design.
yeah,
I love
and
it.
it's a great design. So she's leaning up against the building and stuff, and he rolls up on her and is like, "What are you doing here?" And she's like, "I don't know. I'm just nothing. I'm here." "Well, you can't be here." "Well, why not?" "Because you can't be here." And then like she's like, "Well, why not?" And she's like, "I'm not doing anything." And then she like starts kicking her feet a little bit and like flips over some cars and kind of shakes the building around her. And he's like, "Hey, stop that!" And then like she's like, "No, I'm not going to. I'm gonna do what I want." And then he's like, "Wait, where are you from?" And then like they just like get into this yelling match that like he's the one that like raised his voice first, and she's just like responding like very curtly, but also yelling like at him. um, and
Respectfully not hitting her. Respectfully not
no,
hitting
he's
her.
not.
Guys.
He's not hitting her. No swings are taken on
I did
her.
not hit her. I
Uh,
did not.
Oh, hi, Mark.
The
but
the female stink monster is played by Itsuji Itao, and like he is a comedian and actor, and just like again a cursory glance, but I see him in some more drag in some of these images.
oh yes,
Your
that's
boy.
awesome. That's great.
In comedian drag, to be clear.
Okay. But yeah. It ends up kind of falling off a little bit, because she's like, oh, don't even get me started, like, then there's this guy, and then we turn around and we just see this like jittering chittering little like very penis shaped like kaiju of her species. He's got like a very small flower crown, but the outline of his body and his head like make an exact penis.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
like he
he
is
is just
super phallic.
he's a dick.
Down to the ridges.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
got veins, he's got ridges, he's got the tip is the head.
yep. And he's just kind of like dancing and stuff, and he's like, "Wait, what is he doing?" And she's like, "I don't know. He's been like that for like the last hour and a half. He's been following me around for the last 20 minutes, and he just keeps doing this dance. Like, why does he do this dance? I don't like this dance. Who is this dance for?" And like, they go on this like whole diatribe of like all of his
But
little
then,
movements.
but then he
And then we
busts a
get
new move, and
yeah,
that's what does it.
yeah. Um, and so what's it called? Yeah, so he does his new move, um, and that she likes the new move, and so she bends over. We see a cloaca like open out of her, and we see him like charging towards her. And then it screen blacks, and then we get a shot of a billboard and like this like a rhythmic sounding of like buildings like crunching. So
The
like they're
audience,
definitely going at it.
the audience knows what we're talking about. That's the
Yep.
intro. That's the
Yep.
intro.
Do you think Daisato stuck around, or do you think he's just like watching in horror?
I think
I-
he probably stuck around.
I think he
I-
watched in horror for sure.
Yeah, definitely. That I'm going to assume everybody watched in horror because the next scene.
Yeah, so we open up the next scene with a bunch of like bold red highlighter Japanese prints and stuff that all say children watch TV, like you're a monster. We pan down and we see a newspaper clipping of him standing there kind of clueless, and the headline says monster pimp. And
Hey, to be
and
fair, that it was after the shopping network. Kids should be up around that late.
Hey,
yeah, but
Also, I
Well-
got something. Someone threw their bra at the gate. Like there's just a random brawl just thrown on his gate. I'm going to assume I'm the only
Some
one that-
people like
I
it.
d- so I didn't see that. Mainly what I
Yeah,
saw
they-
was like all of the toilet paper that was like everywhere.
Yeah, for some
Like-
reason someone threw a bra, and it's like
Hey,
just
I'm
hanging
sure-
dangling on his gate.
I'm sure Daisato has some freaky fans.
Oh, totally.
yeah.
He's a huge man. You know,
So you
People-
think those were? I
people
was just
people
wondering,
want gigantism.
so you think that was like a good thing that they did that? Because all the trash and stuff around. I was just curious, like why would you throw a bra? It's just,
I don't know. Maybe it was
I don't
just
know.
the mixed reaction that he gets from everyone.
Yeah.
which is kind
and-
of cool.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And then right after the kaiju sex scene, we now have a kaiju offspring scene.
Oh yeah,
Um,
we go directly and there's no downtime, there's no like interview scene in between. We just go straight into the next monster.
And we find out that the next monster is the child monster. And
This entire scene, just like this scene, killed me.
yeah, yeah.
This
So
scene
like
had me
I,
rolling.
totally, and like I was already like at a pretty like high wave of just like kaiju's having sex in the middle of downtown Japan, like in the middle of downtown like some city in Japan.
Do you think they gave
Just
birth
is
to that?
already ridiculous. Yes, I
No,
do.
I don't
Yes,
think
I
so.
do.
Oh
They
shit! I hope
it,
Yes, I
so.
do.
maybe, but it had
Yes,
pig
I do.
ears. It had pig ears. I wanna
Which
I
at
don't know,
first I
point that
thought
out.
was a
Kaiju.
bow, but it
You
doesn't
don't know
look
about
like their
Kaiju?
ears. I
That's
thought it
Who's
was
that
why
huge?
I thought it was a bow at first.
it is pig ears.
Maybe that's just their baby form.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah. We
maybe
don't
that is
know.
true. But
We don't know.
I
But what?
that's why my theory is that it's not related to the stink monsters. Because I think
Yeah,
it would be
we get
classified as a stink
literally
baby or
Okay.
something.
we get literally no explanation, so I think either could be right. But I'd like to think that this baby came from the stink monster banging.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's what I interpreted it as. But what we do get is we find out that the child monster doesn't like to be anywhere where there's like a lot of noise or a lot of human traffic and stuff or downtown, and really all it wants to do is return to its family in the suburbs.
Yes, its only purpose is to return to the suburbs.
Yep. So we see this. There's a big like sportsplex center thing, and it's laying on top of the dome. And we see Daisato approach it somewhat cautiously, and then it starts talking to Daisato as if it's his mom.
As he picks it up and cradles it.
Yep, he
it
does.
ran faster. It ran faster, mother.
Yeah, it did.
He keeps calling Daisato mother.
Yeah, he does. And
I
it's
rounded the
pretty
corner
great.
and I ran faster.
Yep, I was ahead by at least 2 or 3 heads. Like I was way out there, or maybe I wasn't, but I was still the fastest.
And like
And
as this little baby is like going on and on about this little race he had, like Daisato's like rolling his eyes like, let's hurry up with this story.
yeah, pretty
The
much.
baby's like
he's kinda
actively
done with it.
dying too, almost. It's like seems like he like got shot or something. He's just like telling
I
his
mean,
like
I
sad
just
little.
assumed he was exhausted. I just assumed he was exhausted
literally
from
go-
running his race.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it
Yeah.
reminded me of this scene in The Mask where like,
Oh,
he
yeah.
got shot and like
You got me, partner.
it's getting dark.
Hold me closer, Ed. It's getting dark. Tell Annie M to let old Yeller out.
Tell Tawny Tim I won't be coming home this Christmas. Tell Scarlet I do give a damn. Pardon me. Thank you. You love me. You really love me.
Oh yeah, totally. So he's giving Daisato slash his mother like this whole long diatribe. We kind of zoom out a little bit and see that there is a what do they call those? There's a park with roller coasters. What are those things called? We see
Amusement
one
park?
of the we see an amusement park like around going and stuff, and um then we get really close. We zoom in on the child's face again, and it is time to suckle upon mom's breast. So he starts suckling on the nipple. We look at Daisato's face. He's just kind of like, I don't know if I should be doing this. Like, this is weird and stuff. And then we zoom back in again, and he's not getting any milk out of that man nipple, and so he takes a bite. And this causes Daisato to go and then drop it. Immediately upon it being dropped, the light comes down from heaven, and we see a mangled
As,
child kaiju corpse rise up into the heavens.
as Daisato's kaiju lawyer, I hereby am not covering this case. I withdraw. I'm not touching this.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll take the case.
It's, having the bad press from letting like two monsters like bang in downtown, and then like immediately the next time there's a monster, it's a cute child monster, because ostensibly like what we're seeing, they're filming this, like they're filming this child like be all, like telling all this like story and stuff, and then immediately dropped and dead. And it looks terrible. um the next time next scene, we meet up with Daisato, and he has just entered a bar. And while he has entered the bar, because that's all we see at first, we hop over, and there is a funeral, like a procession, or like a
Candlelight vigil.
remembrance. Yeah, there's a candlelight vigil for this like baby kaiju.
This
Yeah, as he's
scene-
denying, like, I didn't kill him.
Yeah, he was like, he was already like
This is
that.
why-
Yeah, so-
This is
so-
why I've been defending him this whole time. I've been playing this up because of this little bit right here. I've been trying to get him off, but I can't defend him here. Like, he's just too bad. And I
Hey,
wanna state-
I felt it was just a reaction to getting your nipple bit that you
Yeah,
dropped.
he's got trauma. He's got trauma.
Yeah, he's got. That is true. That is true. But I'm not touching the case because how the memorial service that's held. This memorial service is also the scene that brings me against Starfish's theory, which I'm going to assume he wants to go over in final thoughts instead of right now. But yeah, this scene right
Well,
here is the scene
after credits.
that.
Unless like Daisato's writing the series and people are just booing because like this is like a weird storyline.
True, that could be true. Like they just love that character so much, and how could you kill that character off?
Yeah, we don't.
I
we
guess
don't
you're
really
trying to
know any
reel
of that.
me
We
into
don't
the
really know
theory.
any of that kind of stuff.
Unless he
right
dropped
now.
an actual baby.
Yeah, I mean that could be as well. We don't really know anything. We just know what we're shown right now. But what we do know is that Daisato is getting violently drunk. Like he is not feeling great about his recent monster fight with this child.
I mean, his last
so we're
three
kinda
have gone
hopping-
disastrously, so he's got a. He's
yeah,
got a point.
he's
Probably got some
he's-
PTSD
so-
from it.
Yeah, so
Oh,
he
yeah,
so
that's
he's got
true.
so he's got like first thing is like, you sodomized an eyeball guy and then ran away from a bigger monster that came out. Then you let two monsters bang in downtown. Then you dropped a child to its death. And he's not having a good time. However, we hop back and forth between the bar and the candlelight vigil, and we see like these huge swaths of people with all these like posters and all these
His
cutouts and
agent
stuff
is
of
leading
like
it.
we
His fucking
yeah his
agent.
yeah and
There's
his
a lady
agent,
singing Amazing Grace.
yeah there is and it's
More
just
foreshadowing.
it's very extreme of like like showing like the discrepancies between like what his public image is versus what his private image is, or his private self. And then he's very drunk, and the guy that is shooting is like, oh well, why aren't you there? And he's like, oh, I did nothing wrong, like it was a monster, it would just grow up to be a monster, like, and I didn't, I did what I was supposed to do. Like, people don't have to like it, but that's what I did.
I mean, all he really said was like, "I didn't do that. It was already like that."
Yeah,
Basically stating that it was dead before on arrival. But that is not true. We all saw it.
yeah, we did see it. And so Daisato is gonna go home now, because he is very, very drunk. And the guy behind the bar is like, asks him, it's like, oh, he tells him, it's like, oh, you're really big, and he's like, what, what does he say? He's like, what do you mean? Like, of course I'm big. He's like, no, I mean like you're a big drinker. And he was just like, oh, I'm more than just a big drinker, and like basically tells this person that he is Big Man Japan. Um, and then he leaves, and we get a montage scene of him walking home drunkenly. And it's him
This.
walking this really long path home.
Oh, I gotta talk about this
Inters-
song. This fucking song is so fucking good. It reminded me of Gungrave. It was so good, the song during this scene.
Oh yeah.
It's so fucking good. I love the song. I had to point it
Yeah,
out. I was in. I
it's
made
a
the
very
note.
heartfelt song.
It's so good.
Yeah, and while this very heartfelt song is playing and he's walking home, it's intermixed with montages of his grandpa, um, and showing like, oh, here's grandpa's like birthday when he was still living at home. We see a scene where grandpa's blowing out the candles on his cake, and there is uh, two other people around Daisato's age there, as well as a couple of a man and a woman that are older than himself, but not as old as grandpa. So I'm guessing this is his family, outside of his not great marriage and his daughter. Um, so it would have had to happen like before his dad like went off the rails and stuff. Um, but anyways, we see all these things,
Did we
and
even
he
go over
eventually.
his dad? Did we? I don't even think we went over his dad.
Yeah,
Did we?
no, we touched on his dad slightly.
But we didn't go over what happened to his
Because
father.
no,
Because we
we
are.
talked. Yeah, well, yes, we did, because we talked about like when he was a kid and he got
We
shocked.
mentioned that his father killed himself trying to electrocute himself to make him bigger. That I
I'm
don't.
pretty sure that we did.
I can't remember,
I
but
do not remember us saying anything like that. But if we didn't, there you go. That's what happened to his dad. His dad.
his
thought
father did
more
not mean to
electrocution-
kill himself. He
No.
was trying to
Make himself bigger.
push the limits. Yes, push the limits of his Big Man Japan, and ended up electrocuting himself to death.
This scene actually happens before the old man's dementia scene.
Which
So I'm
scene?
jumping back. The scene where DeSato talks about his father electrocuting himself.
Oh, yes, yes. Yes, I thought you were talking about the scene where we get a flashback of the child abuse.
Oh, we can definitely get into it, because isn't that the next scene?
Yeah.
But yeah. I'm sorry. We'll have to restart
Yeah,
where we were at.
we're cutting
Yeah,
this part out.
I tried to give a segue into it, but what was that segue? God dang it!
I don't know.
I don't remember.
we were
We're
talking.
we're gonna talk about the child abuse scene.
Yes, child.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hello.
The nipples.
Yeah. So we had to have a chunk there to talk about the child abuse that happens and Daisato's father, because we find out that when Daisato was just a kid, he was a very chubby kid, and he
Look like a little Jack Black.
yeah, he's very Jack Black in appearance.
But he
with
didn't he
long
say that
hair.
his father was always making him eat,
His father
Make 'em
kept
big.
making him big? Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And so he gets invited to go out to the shed with his dad, and by
Gets
invited, I
invited,
mean he gets
yeah,
forced
forced.
into
This
it.
Yes,
I thought
physically.
this was his dad. I thought that was a crazy scientist. I didn't think
No,
that dude was
this
really
is his
that's
dad.
dad.
It's his
Oh
dad.
shit!
Yeah, we
they're-
open with Daisato just chilling, and then he looks behind him and sees his dad in the like archway of the house, and immediately like knows what's gonna happen, and he tries to book it, but his dad's quicker, catches him, restrains him, and then gets him into the shed where the electric equipment is set up. Um, gets them all hooked up via the nipples, as we had previously found out, and shocks him. When this is happening, his grandpa like busts into the shed and sees this happening, and immediately knocks the electricity clamps off of Daisato and like scolds his dad super hard. And we close the scene by seeing a young Daisato lying on the floor with his, he's already kind of chubby, so he's got like, little kid breasts, and they're just like huge now, and they
They
look
turn
like
to
volcanoes.
Burning like-
I love
They
this.
look like volcanoes.
Why
and
screaming?
and they're smoking.
Oh,
Like the nipples are like bright yellow. And
Great
it's
practical
kind of
effects
his
here.
chest are like charred.
It's the best practical effects that I've seen.
Yeah,
It is,
it's
and
excellent.
as much as this scene was played for comedy, I was sufficiently horrified.
See, it explains why he
totally.
dropped the baby.
Yes, he has nipple trauma.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
he's got a lot of
completely
nipple trauma.
understand. I completely understand, but it just it kills me.
Like,
Not
that's
guilty.
one of his no-go zones. Like, you know. But anyways,
He needs to put some cream on that.
yeah, he needs to have, not such traumatic things happen to his nipples constantly. um, but yeah, and so after all these things happened, is this where we get the haircut?
No, the haircut's already happened.
It's already
Oh,
happened.
okay.
It was
We
pretty
talked
brief.
about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
this is the
Uh,
scene with where they break into his house.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's right. So we Daisato finally gets home super drunkenly, and we see I don't think it's his agent. I think it's
Cut
someone
back
that
to
just
the
like
song again. It's the
I
think
song
it
that
is-
they're playing.
it is his
it's
agent.
great.
Oh yeah,
It is his
okay,
agent.
yeah. Yeah, so we cut to the agent, and she says he's home now. And then we see
Oh no, the cameraman
gets-
called. The cameraman called and said he's going home, and then we cut to the agent is the one that's leading the strike team force.
They all in cahoots.
Okay,
Yeah, they're all
okay, yeah,
engaged.
yeah, all right. So that happens, and he gets swatted, in the worst possible way. He's super drunk. All of these like military garb dudes just like roll out. There's a whole bunch of them.
Nipple swatted.
Still,
yeah,
the
he
song
gets
that
nippled.
they're playing is amazing. It's an amazing song.
And they bust in, get him all hooked up, and while he's in his house, they flip on the switch, and he gets big inside of his own house, destroying his house and making the cat sleeping on top of him huge.
Which we don't get anything. We just like see a glimpse of it, and that's it. Like the cat must like fuck off or something, because we don't see it whatsoever.
Well, yeah, me and Spooge actually talked about this, and I think I would prefer that, because when I first saw this, I thought he was gonna have to like kill his cat,
I
because
was
his
thinking
cat
the cat and him
wakes
was
up
gonna
a-
team up and fight the red kaiju mon. That's what I was wanting.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
but-
I was hoping for.
Yeah, I mean that would have been cool, but no, his cat like gets freaked out because it's huge, and does the yowl hiss thing and then bounces off of him, and then that's all that we get of the cat. So I'd rather that than like have the cat, him have to fight his cat because his cat's destroying the city. That's what I was like scared of when the cat got big. But luckily that didn't happen. However, we also don't get to have the cat fight the red kaiju. And now it is time for the showdown, with the red kaiju from a different country, maybe North Korea, maybe not. We don't really know. And so he sees it. He realizes he's gonna have to kind of fight this thing. He is not about it. He's scared. He does not want to fight this thing. And so he tries, fails miserably. He falls on the ground, and as the kaiju's coming up, probably to give more heals to the face, we look behind and see Grandpa.
Giant grandpa.
Well, Grandpa does a whistle. He whistle. He goes.
Yeah, yeah.
"Woo!" I can't do the whistle that he does, unfortunately, which I love that whistle. Lucky son of a bitch. But yeah, he does that. He does a nice whistle.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
does
So
that old
Grandpa,
grandpa whistle, like, "Oh, I'm about to kick your ass" whistle.
yeah. And so Red Kaiju sees this and it's like, oh no, and approaches Grandpa. They have like a slight stare down for a second. We zoom in on Grandpa's face, and then we get what at first I thought was his inside thoughts of dementia, because it's this like real rumbling like song where it's like but no, that's actually just the battle music, because we pan back out and they're going at it, and Red Kaiju monster's swinging and Grandpa's just dodging it, blocking all of his shots, like totally like martial artist status, like fight between Grandpa and Red Kaiju, and it's great.
And then he biffs it.
But Grandpa slips, falls
Well,
over.
He gets a knee to the head.
Oh, does he get a knee to the head?
Yeah, he
Okay.
gets a knee to the
He
head.
goes to,
I thought
like,
he
do a
just fell
sumo.
over.
He like goes to do a sumo grab, and the Red Kaiju just knees him in the head. Just biffs it.
Yeah, so Grandpa falls over with his head on top of the train tracks, and we go back to Daisato. And
Hold on, his
he's-
soul, his grandpa's
yep,
soul is
yep,
like going wee
yep.
woo wee woo. We
Yeah,
see that.
in and out of
Yep.
the body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what Daisato sees as well, is him, on the brink of ascending up to the heavens, and Daisato sees all this, and proceeds to run away, kicking Grandpa in the head, which makes Grandpa die.
Sends his soul fully to heaven.
Yep, sends his soul all the way to heaven.
And Grandpa goes, ouch!
yeah, Grandpa does say ouch.
Which made me
and-
scream when I first saw it.
Yeah, it was great, because you don't expect it. Excellent comedic timing throughout.
Also, just like you can't get any lower.
Yeah, pretty much.
You just killed your best
own-
friend. Yeah.
Yeah, and Grandpa. Daisato goes and cowers in the corner behind some buildings, because we hear freeze.
Actually, he
Wait.
stops in front of the American embassy.
He does, and then he's getting beat the shit out of again.
Yeah, and then we hear the freeze.
Okay.
I just
Yeah.
think that's an important distinction, that he is getting the shit beaten out of him when the light turns white and he hears freeze.
That he's on quote unquote American sanctioned soil.
Well, I think he is on the brink of death when this happens.
Probably. But then we get the best fucking. I know that sometimes these stereotypes aren't supposed to be played in
Spooge. I
in
think
good
since
taste.
Spooge, since this scene has been ingrained into your head since the movie came out, I think you should describe this scene.
Oh yeah. Well, first, not only do we get the freeze, there's a distinction. It says, what does the little thing say that we're
Enjoy the
watching
rest
it
live. It says
yeah, because I wanted
enjoy the
before I
rest
got
live.
into that thing, because that I know that's an important point for your theory, Starfish. So I didn't know if you had anything to say about that.
Not at this time.
Okay, cool. Then yes, then it flashes, and it's like a cheap, traditional kaiju set with the fake buildings and such, and Daisato is in the
Foam suits.
a
They
foam like
followed-
muscle suit.
They followed. I gotta give them to them. They followed the rule. The last fight of your kaiju film has to be practical. It has to be. You can do CGI as long as the last fight's practical. And
We
they
have
did
gone
it.
to full practical.
Oh yeah, in a very different way.
Rubber suits and all.
Oh yeah, and he's looking around really confused. Like, I mean, just like the setting just changed before his eyes. Um, and then we are presented also with the Red Devil guy too, which all of a sudden he didn't have any clothes before. He was like full on naked, right? When it was the
Yeah, he was
CGI
naked.
going
Yeah.
Now
on. But
he's
Yeah,
got like
now
a
now he's got like
t-shirt
a
and
little,
shorts.
Yep.
yeah, looking like it's "Don't hug me, I am scared."
Yeah. His
And
his face is ridiculously like
yeah,
cowery.
and then we're presented with Justice,
Super
which is
justice.
a Super Justice, yes. Which we have a daddy one with they all look like Ultraman,
Well,
basically.
I can that we have Super Justice, and then we have Super Justice's dad, and then we have Super Justice's mom spelled with a U, and then I believe it's
Yes,
his sister. Don't touch me.
the sister and brother, yeah, and then the little baby.
Yeah, and there's a baby as well.
And there's a baby, and they immediately just start wailing on this monster. Like the brother one comes up and just like picks up a bus. Like the music like stops for like a second. He just like smashes the bus in the most kind of like violently
Smashes it in his face.
childlike way. Yeah.
He flings the bus at him.
Yeah. And then just starts wailing on him. And it has like the most goofy ass like music. It's like like the most like it's very reminiscent of like an Ultraman like
In
or old school like kaiju
Yeah.
show.
the music cuts though when Super Justice's mom just drop kicks the fuck out of the red.
Oh
Demon.
Yeah,
yeah.
she does like a flying kick at him.
And I have to give the whoever the actors in this Red Devil suit, man, like he's taking the full brunt. They're not. It doesn't seem like they're really holding back. Like he seems like he's actually getting his
I think
ass
they are
fucking whooped.
relying on that film.
Yeah,
Oh
they're
yeah.
relying on the foam padding, definitely.
And just like actively like ripping his clothes off. Like I know they do this like little baby super move when they just like
They
football
punt
kick.
the baby, yeah.
Punt baby like they punch it and they like headbutt it around too like it's like a little volleyball and it like launches and like wipes him out too, but then they just go
Fucking
and like start ripping off his clothes and like kicking his shit in.
when
And
they're ripping
but
off his
then
when they're ripping off his
Mhm.
clothes, fucking Super Justice's dad almost goes too far and literally like almost puts his fucking heel on the dude's chest, and he's like,
Oh, yeah.
never mind," and he stops. Real
well
quick.
'cause they're struggling with it like they're trying to like rip the final part of this waistband off, but it just wasn't giving, so like literally just like jerking this guy like up and down like making him
Which I cannot tell if that was planned or if this was
I don't think it
improvised.
was.
I think
I don't
it's
think it was. I think they went
improvised.
with it. Yeah, I think it was improvised. But they were determined to get that off, and they finally did.
But
He had to like
they have to give him
to
like
rip
a
it a little bit.
death wedgie to get the elastic off.
It's fucking horrible, man. I
Nice.
didn't feel
Death
sorry for the
wedgie.
red monster, but now I feel sorry for the red monster.
Yeah, I kind of felt sorry, but
I
then
mean,
it
they
finally
just
ends with the red. Mm.
they
Go on,
just
good.
absolutely brutalize and humiliate him, and then immediately after they start yelling peace.
Jeez. And then they all
Please.
put their hands together, and then they do the little ray that explodes them in a bunch of pieces.
And they force Daisato to come
Oh, yeah.
be part of the peace ray.
like, hey, peace.
And he's like,
Yeah, and he's
Daisato's
like,
No,
no,
no, thank
thanks.
you.
And I wanna
Daisato's
point-
like, no, I'm not interested in there. He just keeps saying peace and makes him come
Oh,
over there.
And when they do when they do the death ray, when he notices when he puts his hand in there, he's not adding anything.
Yeah, he
he
keeps like
puts it away.
putting his hand on and taking it off, and he's like, I literally make no difference. He says that.
I want to.
Which is
Great subversion.
Mhm.
This is the only kaiju that doesn't get lifted up with a beam of light, but I don't think it could after getting blown up like that.
Oh no!
No.
You can
Oh, no,
just assume
he
it's like a
gets
demon too.
Exploded, yeah.
Yeah. Damn.
Yep. And yeah, and so so after all of this like vicious brutality, they form they go and they form the little fly off
And
pattern
keep saying peace.
and keep saying
Peace.
peace.
Force
and-
Daisato to go with them.
Yeah, they scoop up Daisato.
They kidnap him.
Everyone's in this really nice formation, and Daisato is just kind of like not at all. And they do a really great practical effect with this because they look like, it's like clearly toys. And so like all these toys of these like faux American Ultramen things, and then like just this big like kind of overweight like Japanese man with tattoos is just like in the middle of all of them.
Hanging on.
Yep.
His shoe falls off.
Yeah, so his shoe falls off, which at first I thought he crapped himself because he's never shown wearing shoes. So like I was like something brown just fell like from him, and then he's like, "Oh no, my shoe."
It was the
So
suits. Like the suit had like rubber shoes that were supposed to be his feet as well, but one of them fell off. So
yeah,
he improvised a line.
and then we get a like great credit sequence after this. So they start rolling the credits, and then on a little box in the bottom, we see Daisato having dinner with Super Justice family, and it's ridiculous. The whole thing is just it's a lot.
They're going over the kaiju etiquette. That's it.
Yes. Well, they are discussing their fight, and like you can tell, like the mom is like the one who orchestrates these fights because she's just like, you can't just start the fight off with a bust to the face. You got to use your fists.
Yeah, and she's specifically speaking to the son, and the son's like, "Well, why would I start with my fist? I mean, there's nothing wrong with picking up a
He's
box
like,
and
he's
throwing
like
it at
that.
him."
He needs to know we need business.
Yeah, and then her rebuttal is just like, "Yeah, but if you start off with an object, that doesn't leave you anywhere to go because like if you start with your fist, then as the fight picks up, then then you can use an object, then you can pick this thing up and stuff." And he's like starting to get more and more heated, this conversation between them. Meanwhile, we have Daisato and Father Justice. Daisato's just like slamming these drinks, and Father just like, "Oh, you need more," and like pours him some more. And we hop back to the mom and the son again, and and she's like, plus like the baby was done like all wrong too, and just like starts like railing on him about like
Yeah, it should have ended with the baby.
once we use the baby, that should be the final move. That should be the end of it. And the son again is just all like, what are you talking about? Like, we did fine. I punted it, it worked great, and like all this stuff. And she's like, but then okay, like, yeah,
Was the
sure,
baby even
but
there at the end?
yeah.
Okay.
She's like, yeah, sure, but what about you, Father? Like, how hard was it for you to rip off the elastic of the underpants? It needs to be quicker than that. You're not strong enough to do that, and like just starts, pretty much, getting on everybody's case about how they did the fight. And it just like is extended and long and like just really adds such a awesome layer of like surrealism and
Yes, just a
ridiculousness.
fun like family argument over dinner while the guest is just silently sitting there listening.
And it's
Yeah,
something that probably would have overstayed its welcome if it was just in the movie, but it's just kind of like perfect for the credits.
Yes, it is in the credits.
yeah. And the other thing of it too is like every time like she's talking to the son, like he's getting louder and louder and like starts like screaming at her, and she's just all like, don't do that in front of the guests, like we don't want the guests to think that we're a bad family, we're not a bad family, and like all this stuff. And which is like such a great thing of like, oh, guests are over, like don't have your guest face on, like type of thing. So it's really cool.
Then he starts turning his aggression onto Daisato too, and just like the awkwardness of him.
Yeah,
And then,
it's
but
like,
then the mother starts agreeing.
yeah, just like, what about him? Like, he didn't do the beam right. And she's like, well, like tries to defend him a little bit at first, but eventually is like, yeah, no, he also screwed it up a whole bunch. Like, he made it all awkward, weird.
He did break all the etiquette. He didn't do anything that was right. I mean, like Super Justice says it's not rocket science.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. And then credits keep rolling. The scene lasts for the entirety of the credits, so like you're still watching this film like while credits are rolling. And then it ends with the dad asking Daisato if he'd like another drink, and he says, "Yeah."
Doesn't he just
The
keep saying
end.
please? Doesn't the father just like keep saying please or peace to Daisato when he's pouring
No,
him the
no, no.
drink?
He's saying another
Okay. Nice.
because
Getting
Daisato
drunk on Westernism.
Yeah, throughout the like that whole little scene, Daisato has like at least 7
All
like
right.
full drinks of whatever they're drinking. And yep, and then that's the end of the film.
Yeah, we did it. We
Yeah, we
finally
did.
it.
Thank you, everybody on the podcast for helping me dissect some of my my brain remembered parts of this film.
Cue Freddy Fazbear hooray sound effects.
I'm not actually putting that in. There's been a lot. There have been a lot of cutaways.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good though. But yeah. So before we get into final thoughts or anything, do we have like production stuff? I know I have like kind of a large chunk of things for.
I do
I
not.
think we have a lot to say.
Okay.
I do not
Maybe we should
have
just take it
any.
like. Okay. You don't have any?
I don't have any production. No.
Okay.
The only
Alright.
thing that I know that
I
it
don't have-
almost made 10. It almost made 10 million in the box office, which is great. I love knowing that number. I know most people will think, "Oh, that's not really good," but with this movie's budget, that's phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, no, they
I couldn't
crushed it.
actually find the budget itself.
Well,
Yeah, I couldn't find the budget
Wikipedia
either.
says an exact number actually. Let me.
Oh,
just
does
pull
it?
That, let me just
No,
pull that up. real
no,
quick.
no. That's
Yeah, it
just
does.
what they made at the box office. That's
Yeah,
not their
yeah.
production.
Oh yeah. It's
Oh
not
yeah,
the-
yeah. I saw what they made at the box office. I didn't see what the budget to make the film was.
Yeah, they don't have one.
There's an exact figure. Oh no.
You're not.
I'm having brain aneurysm.
I got you. I think I know what you mean. But no, I don't actually have
Oh my
any
God.
production history or anything like that. I am going to read a few points from a very interesting article that I found, and I will, give the name of the article and credit the author. So if anyone wants to go read it, it's a very well written deep dive into the film.
Oh, cool.
But before that, if Starfish, if you have any actual production history, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess it's not production history. It's more just like the way that this film like makes things work, and how they subvert expectations as well as like providing lots of good narrative things.
We'll get into it.
Okay. Yeah. So just like before we even get to final thoughts, I think you guys know, or you listeners know, that I super enjoyed this film. I thought it was really great. Just the way that they take things and just completely change things around. So there's narrative elements, right? And so one of the cool we'll start with one of the big ones here. So Deus Ex Machina, which is something that is always, well, maybe not always, but like frequently used when a writer has painted themselves into the corner. And so what it is essentially, the hero randomly has access or like gets some friends or like gets the secret ultimate weapon that makes them save the day.
But they were
And we
hinting
see
towards Super Justice throughout the whole movie, with all the USA stuff. How would that?
Yeah.
How would that make it a Deus Ex Machina? Deus Ex Machinas are something that's not hinted towards or anything. It just comes out of nowhere.
Well, I
So do
don't
you?
think they were
s-
hinting toward the super justice themselves.
You don't think that? No one else thinks
I
that.
mean, no one ever
No one else.
mentioned it. Yeah, they were
I mean, I
definitely.
have.
Great, go ahead. Sorry.
I, I mean, I have like a small something about that, but like it's really only said like once by the military guys, but that ties more into my my theory of what this film actually is. Um, because they specifically ask them about justice and stuff. But why it's a Deus Ex Machina, or like why I guess I took it as that, is that um, this whole entire time, we don't get practical effects. Like we don't get all that stuff till the very end, and like the way that it is like it did not seem like, sure, like there's like USA stuff, but like that's kind of mixtures between like subtle and not so subtle. I will say the first time watching this, no, I did not expect Super Justice Team Ultramen to pop out of nowhere. That was a whole family with a baby. Did you expect that?
I was hoping that there was some kind of other kaiju.
Specifically a US kaiju that's a family.
I mean, I didn't pick up that it would be a stereotypical American one, but yeah, I was hoping there would be something.
It came out of absolutely nowhere for me.
Because they established that Japan didn't have any others, but if Japan's getting attacked by kaiju monsters, then I expect there to be other kaiju monsters amongst the world. And how are they dealing with it? Other kaiju heroes.
Okay. Well, okay, so maybe not that one then, I guess. So then we also have what's called Eagle Land, which is essentially like whenever the USA is shown, it's like extremely stereotypical. Like it's the most like really really highlighting the stereotypes, and that's actually something that they do throughout the film for like a lot of the characters. Like it it seems as though you,
Gotta add
you,
this to another collection of my favorite Japanese American stereotypes. I just love every time they make an American stereotype. It's
Hey,
always
you want a fucking hot dog? Fucking cowboy, fucking cowgirl, how the fuck are you doing? So tell me, are you kids on your fucking way home from school or something like that? Fuck, why don't you two buy a fucking hot dog from me, Mr. Kohei? Come on, baby, don't be cruel, you fucking cowboy. Tell you what, I'll give you the king special with a ton of fucking ketchup and fucking mustard to go with those fucking hot dogs and sell you the pair of them for 500 fucking yen. How do you like those bargains, baby? Oh, fuck you very much. Hey, are you lonesome tonight, you fucking cheer fucking girls? Fucking hot dogs for sale. Fuck yeah.
I love a blonde pompadour.
yeah,
it's
it's
just
yeah, it's ridiculous.
it's so good. Japanese. I don't know if they're trying to be offensive, but if they are, they're not doing it right.
I'm not offended.
They are not doing it right whatsoever. I just love every fucking one.
Yeah, and also, so speaking like of the superhero stuff, a lot of times, with like superhero things, like whenever they're portrayed as like being in real life, they have to be like sponsored superheroes. And so like I really loved like that interplay in this universe as well, where like, he's you like we spent a whole while like talking about like not letting them use his thighs and stuff. And so like I love how they took that like idea of like a corporate sponsored superhero and just like like not completely subverted it, but made it like kind of dark as like like, oh no, I don't like, why am I even doing this, like I don't want to have sponsors and stuff. So I like how they subverted that. um we of course have the combination attack, um, with the Super Justice team doing the beams and the freeze and the flyaway stuff. Um, we also have two things that I thought that they did really well, which is cursed with awesome and also a hero with bad publicity. So the cursed with awesome thing is essentially like, you know, this person's a hero, yes, but his family and his personal life suffer because he is a hero. I thought the way that they did that was really good, because they left like the important parts of it vague. Like we don't like there's no specific reason that's given like point blank as to like why she left, or anything like that, or like why she can only stand to be around him for like twice a year.
Yeah, we're only
Um,
given little clues of like, I know like one thing
I
is that
don't.
she definitely doesn't want her daughter to become it.
yeah,
Yeah,
but like they don't explicitly state like that is why I left, like that is why I left him or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I like how
Could
they
be a
did
myriad
that.
of reasons.
Yeah, or it could be she doesn't want to deal with him like depressed whenever he's getting small again. Um,
I mean, it's
oh,
probably a very complex situation that that's a lot more grayer than is shown, like you're saying. But
yeah. And then on that note too, with the hero with bad publicity, I mean, we see that like pretty much from the start of the film, right? Like when we first look at outside his house, like all of the people just like mad at him and stuff, and that only intensifies too, especially after the run that he has in this film, of just like, once those like three monster fights back to back, runs away, and then the banging, and and then the kid, like that, he was just garnering so much bad publicity. That was really great. um there's also a Night of Cerberus in this, with the devil monster, because it's the only film that's there. Excuse me, it's the only monster that actually poses a threat to him. Like all of these other things that he fights are just like, I mean, they get dealt with like, probably not in the right ways, but they get dealt with.
Strangle Monster was an issue. That thing was ripping buildings apart, and it if it
But
suplexed him two or three more times, it would have killed him.
I don't know about that. I mean, it's dealt with so quickly by him that like I don't
It's not
feel
really
that
dealt
like
with
it.
him. It wrapped itself around a building that it couldn't be wrapped around, and it's
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's your
this
interpretation of it,
the
right?
strangle monster is definitely killing people because
yes.
he's suplexing buildings, so people are getting smashed in these buildings. Stink monsters, they're not really killing people, but they're causing
They
mass
started to.
chaos. I mean, yeah,
They
because
definitely
like there's
was when they
traffic
were ba boom, ba
jams,
boom, ba
there's
boom, ba boom. They definitely was
there's
killing
traffic
people.
jams, they start kind of kicking cars over and like smashing windows. Leaping monster is also, he's leaping around smashing things, so like there's a good amount of casualties to Japanese citizens with these kaijus.
Yeah, but
The only one
to
that seems to be in the
to
abandoned warehouse district is the evil stair monster.
Yeah.
That's a
And
joke
baby
from Power
baby
Rangers.
well,
okay.
That's what they
it's
call.
a
That's every time they're like,
very
oh,
select
they're
very
like, oh,
select audience for that joke.
well, anytime they're destroying the buildings, they're like, oh, thank God it's the abandoned warehouse district. There's nobody in those buildings because they can't have casualties in Power Rangers.
Yeah, of course.
And of
Uh,
course baby monster didn't kill anybody.
no, no, it did not, of course. But to be a knight of Cerebus, you have to like actually pose a real threat to the life of the hero. Um, so I think the devil monster like does a pretty good
Oh
job at
yeah,
that.
he's the only one who is actively beating the shit out of Daisato.
Yeah. We also get the loners are freaks trope, which essentially, is a classic like narrative device of like, oh, they're loners because, they actually are like wildly different than like quote unquote normal people, right? Like with Daisato, like the outlandish dress he has and stuff, and the way that he is a loner,
I
but
mean, with your theory,
for good reason.
you are stating that he is not only a loner, but a mentally ill person that
Yeah,
needs help.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
he's
I
obviously very depressed.
That
yeah.
is true. I
Uh,
mean, even if he's not with doesn't have the mental illness that Starfish is posing that he has, he still does have depression.
He's
yeah,
depressed. He's possibly an alcoholic.
yeah. Definitely neurodivergent to you. Uh, just because of like his repetitive nature, like he has to follow the routine.
Very
The
over
but
compulsive as
before but
well.
Yeah, totally. But before we get into my theory, I'm almost there. We have Magic Pants Defied, and this is something that I actually like super love. Is that like with characters that get like huge, or like characters that transform in some way or shape and stuff. Like a lot of times, you know, if they like if their genitals would be exposed, like there's always like, oh, the pants just like are ripped now, like he's still able to fit into these and stuff.
Hulk pants.
And yeah, and these ones, they're actually like, nah, like that is not realistic. So they actually have a giant set of purple underpants that they have to raise up on poles. He has to stand in the middle of to like be made huge so that he can fit into his purple underpants. And I absolutely love that they like did that to like just completely like wash away like the whole thing of like, oh, they when they transform, like how did their clothes change and stuff, um which I thought was great. um
But also his dignity too, a little bit.
yeah, totally. We get a little bit of Pokemon speak with the monster that constantly just says Sai, says joy, as Murda discovered for us, because I do think that's what it's saying, because it's
The
literally
jumping for
jumping.
joy.
It
Yeah,
Yeah.
is
jumping for
jumping for
joy.
joy. Jinx, you owe me a soda, Starfish.
Oh, I only have Dr. Pepper. I hope that's your favorite, like it should be.
As long as it's not Pepsi.
It's
um,
actually cream soda, Dr. Pepper, and I don't think it's very good.
no,
Oh,
it's
God,
trash.
I'm gonna
It's
not. I'm
trash.
gonna have to pass on that one. You're
Yeah,
that
so
lucky.
slight segue. Like I always get like a sixer of Dr. Pepper whenever I'm like don't have any or whatever, and they went on sale, and so they only had the cream soda one, and I was like, well, I guess I'll try this, and I'm
It's
not
too
happy with my
sweet.
choice. It
It's
also
too
doesn't
sweet.
have
It's not
it's
good.
also not as carbonated either, which I don't like. Um,
Shame.
we have the classic think of the children, with the whole baby
Stink monsters.
well, the stink monsters, and also killing a baby. um,
That
like
baby was just like that.
yeah,
Hey, it was
yeah,
already
exactly,
like that. It was already dying.
It was already like that.
But I'm not defending this case, so I don't get to say anything.
we also have a really awesome take on the women are wiser trope, which I wish that more things use this, because I do like I agree with that statement. But like the female monster and the male monster, like the woman is so much better than like this man who's just like crazy and ridiculous, put to like full of energy.
Hey,
Um, it's just
apparently
great.
he's like a kid. It's like a kid.
Well, he's
'Cause
young. Yeah.
He's
She's like,
younger
oh,
than
look
her.
at him. He's just a kid. He probably got diseases and stuff.
Yeah. And then of course, just the way that this is set up to, we have an affectionate parody with this film, uh, because I wouldn't necessarily say this is like a love letter to kaiju films, but this is definitely like taking standard ideation from kaiju films, and just either completely subverting them as we discussed, or like changing them in a way that's like really engaging to watch. um like I did not ever have to look at the time with this film. Also, it is somewhat short. And the last one, we have a bittersweet ending, because we don't really know what happens here at the end. And
We've got theories.
with that, I will jump into my theory, and then
Oh wait, are we? Is your theory also part of your final thoughts, or?
No,
No, I
final-
don't think so.
Okay.
no. So my theory is this: um, because we get a lot of things. I actually had to write down a good chunk of stuff here. So this is just how I think this world works, like what we're actually seeing. The Sentai team actually exists in the same reality as Big Man Japan. Um, Specifically because, as Smokey pointed out, there's an earlier scene in the film where the cameraman asks military about justice, and it like it kind of seems like that could be a philosophical question, but I think it plays a bigger part into this world, because the military and his agent set up Big Man Japan for his final battle against the Devil Guy. And the military and his agent used this battle to do two things. First, to introduce Justice and his Sentai family to be the new guardians of Japan. And it was the military saving face, talking about how much they supported Big Man Japan, because we get those same two military guys like throughout talking about like, oh yeah, like we totally support him and stuff. But then we see like how underfunded it is, how like no one really cares, and how they just kind of like about the whole thing. Um, and so like we have this like exploration between the relationships between Japan and America. And the second thing that they did by having Justice join the battle is they created a new style for the show that they had been shooting, um, so that they could drop the smooth footage of these CGI monsters and go the way back to how it had been in the past with like actual full body suits. Um, and my point for that is we get a disruption in the final battle that says, enjoy the rest of the sequence live, which is something Japan does for their TV shows and stuff. Like if it's got a lot of viewers and people are watching, like they will make it live so that people can watch. And that's also why I think that the beat up scene of Justice versus the devil like monster is so just like brutal, because it was just live, and so they're like, oh, we just we have to keep going and all this stuff. Um, so with all of that, what I actually think is going on here is that Daisato is an actor. Um, and what he is doing is he is a generation like from other actors who had all been involved in various ways in Japanese media in order to be a representative for like the like the nation of Japan. That's why his dad was in all, or his grandpa was all in all of that World War II footage and stuff. They weren't ever actually fighting monsters. They were just putting on like, oh, Big Man Japan, he is the giant that always defeats the monsters, because Japan will always like conquer and win. um, and so with Justice being introduced, um, he the what had happened is that Big Man Japan as a TV show started doing really poorly and got pushed back from prime time when the nation really cared about, its image, and like everyone had a lot of national pride, and got pushed back as Japan became more westernized. And as a result, now whenever he shoots his stuff, or shoots for the show and stuff. That's why it's on so late at night, because no one's really interested in seeing like the narrative of Japan conquering everything anymore. And he can't deal with that. So he actually has like a mental break, causing the rift between him and his family, um, and also causing him to have delusions and stuff. And so, whenever he is actually fighting the monsters, these are all scripted events. Him going to the big empty lots that have the electricity, all of that electricity and stuff. That is just him getting ready and getting, all fixed up, and you know putting on the purple underpants. All that stuff is just him getting ready for the next scene to be shot for this TV show that they're doing. And that's why it has become more comical too, because they wanted to go more into a comedy aspect and stuff, and they're trying out different things. That's why these monsters are so varied, and all of the like different shenanigans that happen with the monsters and stuff. However, when he sees the big red devil thing, he has been told by his agent in one of their many many meetings that they have, that the show's going to be going a different direction, and he's going to be out of work soon. And so that is why the red devil just defeats him, because the writers of the show wanted to no longer do Big Man Japan. They wanted to change it into Super Sentai Family. And the ending scene is him actually sitting down with these people who are essentially going to take his place on this show. And, he sees them as their Super Sentai suits, because that's how he has seen them in the show.
Effectively, you're saying he's schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
I do not subscribe to that theory whatsoever.
While
I do not believe it's delusional. I believe it's all happening. It's my theory. It's all real.
Starfish, is that the end of your theory?
Yeah.
So while I do not subscribe to the same theory, I just want to give like a little bit of I guess support to your theory. And this is from the article I was talking about. It is called, and just disclaimer, this article is not like, it doesn't mention anything about this theory or anything like that either. But this article is called "The Confused Nation: Hitoshi Matsumoto's Big Man Japan" by Kenta McGrath. And just there was like a snippet in it that I think could help your argument here. Let's see. So it says, so when people are stopped in the street throughout the film and asked to comment on the previous night's battle in a series of pop interviews, some speak about it as if it were a game or a sport. Some criticize Big Man Japan without citing any particular reason. Some are simply cruel, and all of them do not recognize the battles as something of consequence, despite the fact that Big Man Japan is presumably saving their city from destruction. In Big Man Japan, Matsumoto presents a different kind of rupture, a society no longer able to discern what exists within the realm of TV and popular entertainment, and what may have actual consequences on their lives. In other words, a failure to distinguish between what is real and meaningful and what is not.
Yeah,
I
love that.
I just thought,
I have a counterpoint. They have been experiencing kaijus for at least 6 generations now. The main they would be desensitized. It's just something that happens every day. It's everyday life.
As I said, I don't subscribe to Starfish's theory here, and neither does this article. I just thought that those little snippets could, lend some support to it if we're, thinking about it in his way.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to. I just needed that counterpoint. That's all.
It could be like how Lighthouse could be three different things
Yeah.
going on.
Maybe, but yeah, the Big Man Japan. It's hard to. It's they're obviously if there was kaiju battles, we would film them and air, like it would be major news, like there would be news stations that broadcasted them and stuff. So and then I would assume if we had kaiju heroes, then there
I'd
would
watch
be
the news.
Yeah, but
like
see, I
there
guess
would
like
be
one
definitely
of the reasons
sponsorships
I
and
like
stuff.
think that
Like
is
they would definitely they'd get sponsorships
yeah,
and stuff like that to support themselves in their kaiju battles that they need.
yeah, just which is also something like popular kids shows do all the time.
Yeah, but
Is
not to
like,
the
oh,
extent of
you
this. This is literally they
yeah,
don't.
absolutely,
I've
absolutely they
never seen
did.
a Super Sentai where they slapped a logo on Monster and was like, "Oh, it's a brand."
So, well, I mean, so like GI Joe, I mean, like in America maybe not so much, but like I know for a fact in Japan, like a lot of times shows coincide
Super
exactly with
Sentai
toys.
is a Japanese show,
Yeah.
and I'm saying that they don't do the product placement as egregious as in this. Like if we are judging the product play, it is like they are just slapping these are real products and they're just slapping the logos everywhere.
So
Most of them
my
rely on
point,
toys anyway.
yeah, so what my point is that like can you buy the Sentai figures?
Not all of them. You can't buy all the monsters and
But
stuff. No.
but but you can't buy them though, right?
Yeah,
So
but
isn't that kind of then is it a show that has product placement or is it a show about a product you can buy?
it is a show that sells products, merchandise related to the show because the merchandise came after Super Sentai, not before. Like GI Joe. GI Joe came before the show.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I understand that, but I guess
Like
what I'm
you're
getting at is that
bad comparison when it comes to American cartoons and Japanese because
what
American cartoons are
what
literally just commercials for products that existed in like the
yes,
60s.
yes, so is Japanese shows. I
I
mean, it's the same thing. If it's a kids show, like you can advertise as much as you want in the show because you can go to the store and like, oh, I was watching the show, I can now buy a toy of that show. It's the same thing.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
so
yeah,
and
Yu-Gi-Oh
so
would be a good example of
what
the Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Didn't Yu-Gi-Oh cards exist before the anime? So that would be a good example. Saying Super
what
Sentai though is not because their toys come after the
Okay,
show.
okay. Well, I think you're getting hung up on like specifically Super Sentai. What I'm saying is that Transformers
I'm
is
comparing
maybe a
another
better one then.
kaiju thing to a kaiju thing. I'm not comparing GI Joe to it.
Ultraman has a pretty explicit, like pretty big toy market in Japan. So that is actually
Does
like
the
would
toy
be a good one.
did
What
Ultraman
what I
did the toy come before the Ultraman show or
It
after?
didn't become before;
it
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 came
it's a
after.
yeah, and also like what I'm getting at is it's a show where you can buy things from the show. That's my point. Like regardless of like Sentai or Kaiju or Ultraman or Transformers or any type of thing like that, a show that is um, on and you can buy a toy of what is on the show is the point of the product placement. Like, yes, I understand that, like, you know, you're like, oh, well, they slapped this like candy logo on it on him, and they slapped this other logo on him and stuff. But I think that's just representative of maybe what commercial they were doing. Like it doesn't have to necessarily be like, oh, Big Man Japan only drinks Coca-Cola, or like or showing Big Man Japan with a Coca-Cola label on him. What my point is that like they have to advertise on the show, because it's not real.
And I'm just
Does that
saying
does
when
that
it
make does that make sense?
I get what
Does
you're
that make
saying,
sense?
but it's still not tracking with what I was trying to say.
Well,
but
what I'm
but we
what
got
I'm
to move
getting
on.
at is
We need to start wrapping up anyway. We've gone on
uh,
pretty long.
got, gotcha.
So I is everybody ready for final thoughts?
Sure.
All right.
I thought we were doing final thoughts.
No, now we're in final.
I thought it was final thoughts that turned into the theory and then
No,
the
it wasn't.
arguing of the theory and then the
No.
arguing about Japanese and I don't know.
American cartoon commercials. Yeah. Let's move on. I was trying to say GI Joe was a show fucking built on fucking was designed
I
to
don't
sell
think
the toy,
I
and
don't
Super
think
Sentai
Starfish was
can't.
ever saying that they were exactly like that. But yes.
But yeah.
Yes.
Final thoughts. Who wants to go? Who wants to go? I'll go first if no one else does.
Yes, you don't have to ask. You could just go.
Okay. I am of course going to be giving this a solid 5 out of 5. If everybody else gives it a 5 out of 5, we will have to put to vote if this gets a god tier or not. But it's the CGI is the only thing that I can complain about, and they even do the CGI like they to a comical, like they use it for the comedy. Like they're not just using bad CGI to cut costs. Like it's there for comedic effect, and it's everything. Every scene it has a purpose. There's not like one scene. None of the human drama is like just human drama. It's all related to the kaiju stuff. We get what 1, 2, 3, like 5, 6 kaiju fights in this. I mean, what more can you want from a kaiju movie? It's not too long. There is no, like I said, no human drama. The last climb, they even have the last fight be practical effects instead of the CGI. So all around, I love this movie. I've already watched it like 3 or 4 times since we watched it, and I'm glad that I have to watch it again.
Nice.
But yeah, that's it. That's all. Oh, the soundtrack. It's fucking banging soundtrack. I love most of the songs in this. There's one song that I didn't vibe with too tough, but it doesn't matter. So yeah, that's my final thoughts. 5 out of 5.
Nice. Um, so I feel like I may be the only one with with a slightly like less than perfect score. I don't know. Um, but I'm giving this a almost perfect score. I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5. Um, because I absolutely loved it. I thought that everything was done really well. Except I wanted to know the things that happened. Like I guess that's like part of like why I have this theory and all this stuff is that like I never get like it never resolves itself, and like I crave the resolution of like knowing what happened. Like, is Super Sentai here to stay? Is Big Man Japan gonna be like their sidekick now? Like if the every all the events are real, and if all the events are not real, like what happened to like his daughter, his estranged wife, his grandpa, like, or well, I guess we know what happened to grandpa actually. But like
Well,
still
if
I
it's
like
not
I
real, we don't know what happened to Grandpa.
I had to point this
yeah,
out. This is
that's I
usually
mean
why
that's
I take away from things is I don't get enough resolution from stuff. So this is a big thing. I separated myself from the resolution. I didn't need
nice.
it.
Yeah,
There
well,
you go.
I guess for me, like, I just because like having the like theory, especially like after finishing the film and like like kind of taking a closer lens at it, like, and developing like that, like it made me want to know like what was actually going on this whole time. But then again, I have taken it in a completely like false direction. But either way, 4.5. You should definitely watch it if you've never seen it before. It is a gem of a film.
That disqualifies it from the god tier. Shame.
That is a shame because I am also giving it a 5 out of 5. I am definitely an entertainment based rater more than Starfish, though I will, I'll take away points for egregious things, but none, there was nothing in this movie that was egregious to me. I know the CGI was awful, but again, I just took it as part of the high strangeness of this film, and then it worked for me if I looked at it in that way. Um, as Smokey said, it was almost like, watching Xavier Renegade Angel, like it was that Adult Swim level of like weird CGI that almost gave me like a nostalgia. So I didn't dock it for the awful CGI. I just incorporated that into the weirdness of the movie. I will say that this movie does start slow, especially if you don't know what you're getting into. Some of the interview scenes are slow, but to me, that just, again, just added to the, I guess, the juxtaposition of just these wild, crazy fights. And then we're back in his life with just a very dry slice of life. And I have to say, Matsumoto just absolutely killed it in this role. He improvised most of his dialogue in the interviews. He basically said there really wasn't much of a screenplay. The interviews were almost all improvised. And so he was just kind of, he is a Japanese comedian. So he was just in his element doing his dry comedic improvisation, and it just nailed it for me. I loved, I mean, this movie has a lot of deeper themes too. I mean, there's all these themes about, national pride and Japan's identity. There's themes about its relationship with the US, about North Korea. Again, from this article that I mentioned before, I like this little snippet. It says, for the Japanese who appear in Big Man Japan, the traumatic events of wartime past are a forgotten memory, and the very notions of war, violence, and death seem to have become abstract concepts. As the film makes abundantly clear, the context of Japan in 21st century is vastly different to that of immediate power post-war period. Matsumoto depicts a complacent Japanese society that seems to have become spoiled by peace and whose sense of shared national identity has all but vanished. So like that's a pretty deep theme to
Yeah.
like stick into this like crazy monster movie. So
Take that, boomers.
take that. But I just like there's so many deep themes. I mean, we're seeing this like this man who's supposed to be a hero, and he's, basically putting his life on the line to save his country, and nobody like gives a fuck. He's depressed. Nobody reaches out to help him. He's getting a low salary, so even the country that he is protecting is not taking care of him. So this film was way deeper than it should have been. So I just have to give it a 5 out of 5. It was so fun to watch. I screamed during some of these kaiju fights. They were so bizarre, that the sequence where it's just like the one after the other into like the stink monster, the baby with the candlelight vigil, I was just like dying laughing. And then that ending, I did not see that ending coming. And I had seen this movie before, but I feel like it was probably just a fever dream when I saw it the first time because I saw it the year that it came out. So I did not remember that ending. That caught me off guard. I want to just a little detour here since Starfish laid out his theory. Mine is a lot shorter. I think everything in this film happened. I think everything that we presented, I take at face value. You know, he is fighting kaiju, he's fighting giant monsters. My interpretation of the end was that the giant red monster killed him, and the rest of it was like a dying dream. That was just my
Oh, nice.
interpretation. That's how I thought of it, but I don't know if there's an actual answer, but 5 out of 5. Please go watch this movie. It's awesome.
Yes.
Speech.
It's up to you now.
Yep, it's a 5 out of 5 for me too. And a lot of the same things. I mean, just the goofiness of the CGI. Like, I could totally see why people would be turned off by it because it is terrible though. But it's something that does grow on you as you watch it because you kind of understand the goofiness and what it's doing. It's almost necessary in the absurdity of this movie, especially just with you can't get the design of those monsters fully practically, that's for sure.
No.
I don't think any of them except the red monster.
Yeah.
Maybe the baby
And,
monster, but you couldn't do what they did.
But yeah, and the intricate, like, you know, symbology of fucking of, you know, accepting kind of like change basically of the culture and because I mean it's hard to say if this is kind of like more of a almost a pro-nationalist thing. I think it's just more of just like a like exploring just the change, you know. Um, but I'm getting lost. Oh yeah, on your theory though, even though I don't fully subscribe to your theory, Starfish, I will say that two realities can be existing parallel to each other, so I'm not going to fully discount it.
Yeah.
I've
And I, I
I've watched Lighthouse.
yeah, and I mean I do have a small something about it after yours.
Mhm. But and so I think when he's getting beat by the red guy at the end, I think he does die, but I think the next sequence after is like I think it also I kind of agree that it might be his dream sequence too, but it almost cuts like if it's the actual news station that's like, oh well, we can't end it like that, so we're just gonna cut this in. To like try to censor the fact that he's getting like pummeled to death. Um, but yeah, it's 5 out of 5 for me because it's just such a strange. There's no other movie like this, and I have nostalgia for this. I remembered most of this movie pretty well. It was pretty sunken into my mind. So I remember like watching it and I enjoyed it, but I remember being a little uncomfortable with it too because it was definitely shocking when we first watched it. Of
I
what
would've-
we're gonna get.
I would have been down for a God tier, I have to
Mm.
say too.
Yeah, I
It's,
totally
it
wish
was,
we could give it a
um,
god tier. Would you be down
I remember-
for a god tier,
You gonna try
Oh,
and
shit.
convince me?
Would you be down for a god tier, Spooge? Would you have been if we could have given it a god tier, but somebody has to rain on this movie's parade?
You know,
don't you tell me
as
how
I
you
said
really feel?
before, though I do think the reason he gave is a little nitpicky. I could definitely see why other reasons why people would be a little bit more deterred from this one, but it definitely would be a god tier if I had anything to say about it. That's all I'll say. But I believe in free speech, and I believe that 4.5 is high.
People's
I'm not-
people's opinions are valid.
I'm not trying to state that. Just when it comes to god tiers, it's
Just for the sake of other arguments, okay?
it's upsetting when it can't be done. It's all I'm trying.
Hey, if we're not all on the same page, then it's not a God tier.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just not.
It'd be
Gotta stick
it'd
to
be
the
a false
rules.
idol.
Oh,
We'll put it in our false idol pile of things that we wanted to be God tier but couldn't be.
oh.
But yeah. What else was I gonna say? There's something else. Oh yeah, it'd always been in this one Blockbuster. We'd always see it. There was always just a single copy of it. It was always sitting in this one spot, and then we finally, our curiosity of it, we finally got it. And oh yeah, I remember we were all howling. It's probably why you don't remember, because I remember all of us because we watched it with Dad. There's a lot of just like howling laughter.
I probably laughed so much I like blacked out.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez. Oxygen
Probably
loss.
did
It happens a lot, apparently.
too.
Yeah. The only other thing I had just to add is that we know that Grandpa has dementia, and although dementia is not strictly hereditary, there are more than a couple of dementia like genes that can pass down essentially. So this like could be him going, like it doesn't necessarily have to be you know schizophrenia or anything. Like it could be dementia because he's getting older.
True.
Early
True, it could
onset.
be.
hmm So I just wanted to say that as well.
He's just at that.
But just
he's
something
just at
something that
age
causes
where it would
hallucinations.
be. He's at the age where it would be called schizophrenia instead of dementia.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. His age is hard for me to place.
But yeah, I think we're done. Are we? Have we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked
It's getting.
way longer than the runtime of this movie.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
It's because it's a good film.
On both parts, I think. On part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. No. I mean, it was good. What if I did change my rating? How would that work? Does it just change on the thing?
I think you just get called a lying bitch and then it changes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to
you
concede
have
to being a
experience
lying
with
bitch.
that?
That's the only way you can change. You have to concede to
Oh
being a lying
man, so,
bitch.
so we'd get another insert of thing of what's it called?
Yeah, he's gonna call you a lying bitch.
All right.
All right, you know what? It's time I wear that crown. Well, I will give it a 5 out of 5 as
Lying bitch.
well.
Oh,
So we
shit.
can. So are you?
the mortal became a god.
Oh, so.
Well, after hearing everyone else's thoughts, because, like, I don't know, I get wrapped up in my own little theory world sometimes, you know? And so, like, for me, like, I just wanted just any type of resolution. I got
Well,
none.
for me, you know, it was the whole thing with like Twin Peaks. It's like, yeah, maybe you want a resolution, but you ain't getting one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
small.
Yep. Oh, she broke the She broke the sacred rule, Spooge.
Oh man.
Fucking Twin Peaks.
Damn it.
Fucking Twin Peaks.
Oh,
Sacred rule?
You said
I have
that
not
there's no
watched it yet.
conclusion.
I didn't say no. You are taking words out of my mouth. I could be talking about literally any plot thread in the whole series.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You say
We
you
should've
have to
said that
watch it to
earlier.
find out.
I said
I
said
I'm gonna state this
resolution.
now. That's a goddamn spoiler for all the goddamn plots.
I didn't know. I did not spoil fucking anything. I didn't spoil shit. Y'all are reading into it too much.
I mean, she didn't mention like any of the people involved. Or
I didn't
anything.
mention what.
Let's get off of
Didn't
Twin
get. I
Peaks.
didn't.
Let's get
I'm,
off of Twin
well,
Peaks.
I get to defend myself. I did not mention any specific plot line that does not get resolution in Twin Peaks. I'm saying how about this? As like David Lynch in general, you ain't getting the resolutions, clear resolutions. How about
That's
that?
true.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
all
that's
I meant.
accurate.
I'll
Trying to
accept that.
pin shit on me that ain't the truth.
Hey, it's the first time you was in the hot seat. I had to take it.
Yeah, I'm out of the hot seat. I'm out. You can't keep being here.
I'm sorry. I get scared.
You overreacted. You get in the hot seat.
Oh.
I think the hot seat for this episode is reserved with my name on it.
All right, so yeah, we can. Are we voting on Gondir now? Is that? Am I change?
Yes.
Oh,
I
We
vote
ascended to
yes.
godhood.
Yay,
Like
yes.
Talos.
Yes.
so we
Yay
Talos!
for God tier.
So, like many of the other kaijus in this film, let's let it rise up into the heavens with a brilliant light
Yes.
and become a god tier film.
Then a god am. Was that over the top? I can never tell.
Up there with Death Kappa.
Beautiful.
And the original Gojira. And
I'm so happy that this is our, as a group of 4, this is our second God tier, and one was like actually a critically acclaimed movie, and the second one was Big Man Japan.
This
Should be
one's
critical.
got a lot of. It's got accolades. It's just not as many accolades.
hipster acclaimed.
It needs to be critically acclaimed.
Wait,
This movie's
Oh.
very divisive.
yeah.
But yeah, is that it? Have we done it?
We've done it.
Yep.
My voice cracked there.
We're
But yeah,
ascending.
all right.
Getting
Yep,
into
we've
the
ascended into god
outro.
tier.
All right, yeah, we should be back now from depending on where I spliced it in. I don't know where I spliced it in yet. But yeah, if you've been listening this long, thank you so much. Especially if you've tuned in from part 1 and decided to listen even longer. Really appreciate that. Please leave a like, leave a comment, tell us, I haven't said this, but please tell us what you think about the movie or any movies that we have reviewed in their comment sections, please. Give us feedback on this format. Do you prefer us to just splice in the episodes, or do you like the part 1, part 2 type situation? And yeah, if you like the video that much, please share it around. It'll greatly help. Subscribe to the channel, of course, and turn on notifications. We are not stopping these reviews. Do anybody have a sign off?
That baby was already like that.
Dai Nippon Jin! Woo!
Your boy, and here's something I'll put out for the people in the comment section, and anybody can chime in and answer. Who's gonna win between Big Man Japan versus Squirrel?
Oh shit.
Versus
Ooh.
Squirrel.
I think Squirrel might win because Big Man Japan is too like complacent.
Oh yeah, you get in his brain.
And I want to say, Big Man America needs to be played by Henry Sobrowski. Go hell, Henry
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, this will be a bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Goodbye. Voldemort killed Laura Palmer.
Oh shit!
Spoiled.
Damn it.
See you next time.